Two NFL player props here on PrizePicks for Sunday, December 8th. Before we get started, link in the description below. Hop into the Discord, $9.30 per month, 31 cents per day. Again, that's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We have other cappers in there as well. Super positive community. Everyone in the Discord just trying to help each other cash. Again, currently doing a promo for first-time members of the Discord. 20% off your first month, comes up to like $7 for the entire first month for a full 30 days. Again, link in the description below for that. Also, follow me on Twitter. You guys really trying to post daily plays of the day over on Twitter, at Tough Picks, a verified Twitter account. And then finally, Daily Grind Fantasy, you guys. The DFS Optimizer, an absolute elite DFS tool that I do use every day to add plays into my parlays. You can get 25% off your first month over at Daily Grind Fantasy by using the link in the description below, using promo code TUFF. Again, link in the description below, promo code TUFF for 25% off your first month. But again, does all the hard work for you. For example, actually, let's go to the NFL plays. Again, this updates in real time. Also, whether you're an underdog, fliff, better, sleeper, whatever DFS platform you bet on, there's an optimizer for you on there. But like Matthew Stafford, over 16.5 fantasy score against the Bills, the top play on the board. Because traditional books don't offer fantasy score lines like based on Matthew Stafford's pass yards, TDs, and things like that. His fantasy score line on BetMGM would be 21.5. So that's 16.5 on PrizePicks, showing us these type of line discrepancies. So again, link in the description below, promo code TUFF for 25% off your first month. But let's get into it, you guys. Let's get into this video. Two player props, NFL Sunday. Been on a decent run for the NFL videos on the YouTube channel. I put like at the beginning of the YouTube video, there will be like our run that we're on currently. But first play is going to be Calvin Ridley over 4.5 receptions. I want to say if this does bump to 5, because I do think it maybe has a chance to bump to 5. Personally, I would play any of his lines. You could obviously play receiving yards. You could play reception targets. You could also play his fantasy score line as well. But 4.5 receptions for Calvin Ridley, I think, is too low, given the matchup and given that this is a revenge game, right? He was on the Jaguars last season. Kind of an up and down season for him last year. He didn't get a ton of targets, things like that. I know there was a little bit of drama, I think, when he left the team. I'm not really so sure, but again, revenge game nonetheless. And this matchup versus the Jaguars continues to be elite. We know the Jaguars have probably, if not one of the worst pass defenses in the National Football League. They're allowing the 4th most receiving yards to wide receivers, 7th most receptions to wide receivers, 8th most total targets to wide receivers. So just a ton of upside, right? When you talk about the Jaguars, we know their pass defense is very poor and their run defense is poor as well. So it's not like they just have a very poor defense. But I think given this revenge type of atmosphere for Calvin Ridley, I think he gets a little force fed the ball. Look at wide receivers. Game log this season versus the Jags with 5+ targets. I mean, the hit rate on this receptions line of just at least 5. We've seen 13 different wide receivers that have had 5+ targets. 13 of them have had at least 5 receptions. So 13 total wide receivers. We're literally in week 13. I believe we're in week 13. I could be wrong, but nonetheless, ton of upside. You can see the type of 18 different wide receivers had 4 receptions against the Jaguars. So again, not overthinking this one, a ton of upside. Also, I mean, like I said, this line could bump if you look over on Outlier. Over 4.5 is -121 on Caesars. Down here on BetMGM -130, Bet365 -125. Also, Outlier, you guys, 7-day free trial with the link in the description below as well. But yeah, Calvin Ridley over 4.5 receptions in the first place. Second place is going to be receiving yards combo line. I've been really into the receiving combo lines lately. It's going to be Addison plus Darnell Mooney over 99.5 receiving yards. I think if you look at all the receiving combo yard props on the board, this is the only one, or I guess this one down here is, but this is the lowest one. And I think it has a ton of upside when you consider the matchup for both these guys on each side of the ball, obviously. But like taking a look at this one, like I said, the Vikings obviously are pass funnel defense, one of the more elite pass funnel defenses in the National Football League. We know they love to play a ton of zone, and Darnell Mooney is actually the #1 target for Kirk Cousins versus zone defenses. And then the Falcons aren't great as well, right? They are the 13th most total receiving yards to wide receivers. And again, I'll get into Jordan Addison in a second, but let's talk about Darnell Mooney first. Like I said, Darnell Mooney, he's had a really good year, really solidifying himself as that wide receiver 1. So for 99.5, let's just say we need each player to get around 45+ receiving yards, right, for this one to be close. For 45 receiving yards, I mean, Darnell Mooney is over this line, and let's see, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of 12 games he's over this line, 46 plus receiving yards in 8 of 12 games this season. And like I said, this is his best matchup he's going to have in essentially games that he's had plus matchups versus wide receivers, like the Saints here, Tampa Bay, Dallas, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay, teams that are like essentially ranked in the bottom 10 versus wide receivers. He's had 56 in every single game versus those types of defenses. I think he's good for at least 7+ targets in this one as well. Again, wide receivers game log this season versus the Vikings with 2+ targets. Again, the Vikings, probably the most pass funnel defense in the NFL. And again, we just need around 50. We've seen 11 different wide receivers that have seen 2+ targets versus the Vikings go over this line. I think it's a great spot. Also, when you consider the types of wide receivers that have been able to feast versus the Vikings, I think the Vikings allow the most targets to slot receivers in the NFL. And, Darnell Mooney plays a decent amount of his snaps out of the slot. So, yeah, wide receivers, you can see the hit rate, 11 different ones. Look at some of these game logs from some of these guys, absolutely massive. And then Jordan Addison on the other side of the ball has seen a great uptick in his usage lately and just overall production. 50+ receiving yards in 3 straight games, 61, 162 against the Bears, and then 54 last week on 6 targets, 8, 9, and 6 targets. I think they're trying to get him the ball a little bit more. I know with Hawkinson back and things like that, I think it's only helping Jordan Addison, right? I know Justin Jefferson's going to continue to get double coverage throughout the field, but Jordan Addison has a ton of upside considering he is a big play threat. Like, he could get us 30+ receiving yards in one play, which would obviously be massive for this line. But again, for Jordan Addison, we just need around 45+ for this line to be close. And at home this season, he's at 36, 66, 42, and 54. If we filter this to not at home here, decent game, but it's like the usage he's had as of late. Versus the wide receiver position, like I said, 13th most wide receiver receiving yards to wide receivers, and then wide receivers game log this season versus the Vikings with at least 2+ targets. This has a pretty decent hit rate as well, as far as just 45+ receiving yards. Again, another 11 total wide receivers have cleared the over on this line, and a lot of secondary wide receivers have been able to thrive, right? I know the Falcons have a pretty decent secondary, so I think there's a ton of upside for both these guys to really thrive in this game. Indoor game as well should be a really good game environment. I do believe I'm going to actually take a look here at this game total. 45.5, probably one of the higher game totals on the slate here as far as, aside from the Thursday Night Football game. Yeah, 45.5, and Vikings are 6-point favorites in this one. I think this is a game too. Kirk Cousins back in Minnesota. I think it's just a lot of storylines here for this one for it to be a good one. So I like this combo yards prop. I like Calvin Ridley 4.5 receptions. Please drop a like on this video, guys. Check out all the links in the description below. Hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.